Yeah, today we're going to talk about fills. I know everybody wants to know fills. Everybody is so concerned, especially young players. They want to know how to do a fill. When should you do a fill? What kind of fills can you do? Fills. So we're going to talk about how to do that today and what a fill actually is and when you should use it and some kind of concepts that can cover how to do a fill, or not necessarily giving you specific fills to do, although I will give you some examples, but I want to give you an idea of how to come up with fills on your own so that you can do them appropriately and place them wherever you want to. Okay, so first of all, what's the definition of a fill? A fill is a change in the music, a change in your drum pattern that you would do to signify a new section, or a change in the groove that signifies the end of a phrase. So the things that I played at the beginning, those things at the end are fills. So what is a fill not? What's not a fill? A fill is not a mini drum solo. Okay, which many young players think that's what a fill is. A fill is not your time to just like, here's my few counts or my measure where I can just like go off and do whatever I want. Because a lot of times when that happens, you end up losing where the beat is, you lose track of one, or you rush or do something like that. So that is not how you should approach a fill. There's different ideas with fills. So since a fill just means that it is a change in music, a fill can mean subtraction, where you actually have silence. That can be a fill. All right, so I'm going to show you some examples of that and some ways that you can do fills that you may not have thought of before. So here's way number one. Way number one, thing you got to be able to do first is be able to crash on one. Be able to crash on one. When you just play a regular groove, just be able to crash on one and go back into the groove. So let's take a real simple beat and we're going to crash on one, all right? So we have a metronome at 80 and we're going to play a simple groove and just crash on one and make sure we can get back into the beat and keep the backbeat on 2 and 4, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Here it goes. Making sure you can come back into that backbeat on 2 and 4. Here we go again. 1, 2, ready, and see, right back into the backbeat. One more time. 1, 2, ready, and so a lot of times when young players want to do fills, they have trouble doing something and then going back and hitting the backbeat on 2 and 4. A lot of times what will happen is you'll displace it and put the backbeat on 1 and 3, in which case it's not a backbeat anymore. So you flip the beat around. You don't want to do that. You always want to make sure you're 1, 3, 4, 1, 2 stays there. No matter what you do, keep that backbeat on 2 and 4. So when you come out your fill, 1, 2, you got to be able to come back and hit that snare on 2 and 4, okay? So that's step number one, is just being able to crash on 1 and then come back into your groove and keep that backbeat on 2 and 4. Once you've got that going, you can start to do some other things. Let's start with just one count of fill. So we're going to stay in 4/4, and we're only going to do a fill on beat 4. So fills, first of all, they happen every 4 measures, right? If we're in 4/4 time, we can think of it happening on every 4th measure. So on count 4 of the 4th measure, we're going to add our fill. Just one count, only on count 4. So let's start with just this, 4E and That's it. Let's just start with 4E and Ready? Here we go. Metronome back on 80. 1, 2, ready, go. One, 2, 3. See? Just one count. On beat 4. 1. Here's measure 4. 1, 2, 3. 4 and a 1. Let's do it one more time. One, 2, 3. That was at 80. Like I always say, you can always go slower. Go back to 60. See if you can do that at 60, because if you can't do it at 80, you need to go slow. Go slow. Slow it down. That's all you need to do. All right. So if you need to go 60, 4E and a 1. Just practice that consistency. 4E and a 1, and then make sure you come back and have that backbeat on 2 and 4. 4E and a 1, 2. So you could just isolate that part. 4E and a 1 and 2. 4E and a 1 and 2. So that's just that the fill, the end of the measure. Count 4, crash on 1, and then backbeat on 2. 4E and a 1, which is the tricky part if you're just starting to do this. Now, after you've done that for a while, you can do a 2-beat fill. So now we're going to back up and we're going to start our fill on count 3. Okay, on count 3. So we're going to do this. We're going to go 3 and 4E and a 1. 3 and 4E and a. All right, let's try that. 1, 2, count 3 fill. 1, 2. See, that was on count 3. Measure 2. Measure 3. Here you go. 1, 2. I added a little drag there. We'll go over drag in a second. Last time. Ready? And 1, 2. All right. So you can start with those simple grooves. That's what you need to do, okay? And then you can work your way up to a 3-count fill. So that'd be starting on count 2, and then a whole measure. So count 1. So you go. If you've ever listened to the song "Brick House" by the Commodores, there's a famous fill that goes right? Go listen to that song by the Commodores. That's a whole measure fill. Right? And that's a great song to listen to, some fills. Whenever you listen to music now, I want you to listen closely to what the drummer is doing and see if you can hear when they do a fill and see what kind of fill it is. It may be something very, very simple, right? They may not do a fill at all. Sometimes you're expecting a fill to happen, but it's not necessary. You don't always have to fill, all right? Don't just chalk up every 4 bars and toss a fill in arbitrarily. If it doesn't make musical sense, don't do it, all right? Use your ears first and foremost and know when to add one appropriately. That's what you have to make sure you do, is like you're not just adding a fill just because you want to play. Sometimes the song just requires you to sit in the pocket and do nothing else. You don't have to fill. You just sit in the pocket and stay there, and maybe you might crash sometimes. A great example is James Brown music. Go listen to some James Brown music. You'd be hard pressed to find 3 fills in a whole song, right? A lot of times the drummer is just doing the same thing throughout the whole song. And even when the drummer has a solo, guess what? He's just doing the same thing. Everybody's just dropping out. So James Brown says, give the drummer some. Can we give the drummer some? Yeah, let's give the drummer some. Here we go, drum solo. Just keeps the beat going, right? He doesn't change anything. That's the whole drum solo, is just keeping the groove. And that's what it's all about. So don't do anything that disturbs the groove. You cannot do any kind of fill that disturbs the time, that disturbs the pocket. That is first and foremost. So don't be so concerned about fills. As the old saying goes, fills bring the thrills, but groove pays the bills. So always keep that in mind, that groove is first and foremost. Okay, let me give you a couple of other ideas that you can incorporate that are simple, that are just concepts, all right? So let's use the hi-hat now to do a fill. Let's do an open and close. This is one of my favorite things to do for fills, and it's simple, right? It just requires a little bit of left foot coordination. So when you do an open and close with the hi-hat, you hit the hi-hat and simultaneously, at the same time, you lift your left foot, all right? So it's this. So I'm hitting, and as I'm hitting it, I'm lifting my foot. Now, if you lift your foot up too early, you're going to get this. still is okay. But if you don't lift your foot up at the same time, if you hold your foot down too long after you hit it, you get this. You don't get the pss, you don't get the sizzle. So it takes a little coordinated effort. You hit the hi-hat and lift your foot at the same time. So my foot is lifting off the hi-hat as I'm hitting it. All right, and you get that little sizzle. So here's an example of that. Right, on the and 4. Right? You heard that on the and 4. And 1. So the thing about open and close is not only are you concentrating on when it opens, but think about when it closes as well. This is a thing that many people forget whenever they're doing an open and close with the hi-hat, is when the foot closes, okay? So think about the timing of the foot closing, and that will help give your open close hi-hat a nice crisp feel to it. It'll make it more groovy. So you go, right? I'm really trying to be deliberate about when I close it, right? On that suck into 1, okay? So think about not only when you lift your foot up, but also when it closes. So try that. Let's try open close on the and 4. We're just going to do a very simple groove, and we're going to open the hi-hat on the and 4 and then bring it back on 1. Here we go. Ready? And 1, 2, ready, go. We're going to do it on the 4th measure. That's 3. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. See, right there on the and 4. This can be a fill. Here we go again. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Cool. That's a lot of fun. You can put that in all kinds of places, all right? Open and close. So if you are not familiar, if you're just starting to do it open, close, do it even slower than that. Go. And another thing about getting an open and close is you want to hit with the shoulder of the stick on the edge of the hi-hat. So if you do it like this, you'll get that. It'll be kind of tingy, and then you won't get the fullness of that hi-hat. So make sure you're hitting with the edge of the shoulder of the stick on the edge of the hi-hat, so you can really get that. Now I'm using these low volume cymbals, so you can't get like the super clear idea of what it's supposed to be, but you get the idea. Shoulder on there, and you're gonna get a nice full open close sound. That's a great way to do a fill. You can put it in different places. You can put it on the downbeat, right on beat 1. Like, you know how you did a crash instead of you did a crash on beat 1. Instead of doing a crash, do an open hi-hat on beat 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a different idea. You can put it on different eighth notes, play around with it, all right? So that's the open hi-hat. Let's do this other idea of silence for a fill, okay? Silence for a fill can be super effective because it leaves room for the band to do something. It leaves room for the other musicians to do something, and it kind of builds that suspense and tension, like, oh, what's about to happen? And you go boom, and then you drop a big crash on them, and it's like, oh man, it just feels so good. All right, we're gonna do silence as a fill, and then we're gonna hit on beat 4. Okay, so let's do 2 counts of rest. In the middle counts 2 and 3, and then we'll smack on 4 and then come back in. Let me show you what that's like. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, silence. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. See what I'm saying? Let's do it one more time. Here it goes. 1, 2, 3. So I did a flam right there, a big flam. One more time. I'm gonna do something a little different. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So silence is a great way to add tension, to build suspense. It's just a great phrase bridge ending kind of idea. So use silence. Those are a few ways to get you started with some fills. Now, there's tons of ways. There could be a whole course just on fills, all right? And I probably will continue with some different fill ideas. You can check out lots of guys on YouTube about different licks, different fills, okay, different combinations of things. But those are some concepts for fills that can get you started, that put you in the right direction, in the right frame of mind for when you want to do a fill. So remember, they're not mini solos. A fill is not a mini solo. It's a way to signify the end of a phrase. It's a thing that kind of changes up the groove a little bit to give it some phrasing, all right, at the end of a phrase. That's what a fill is, okay? It's not fill this up as much as you can with as many notes as you can, all right? That's not a fill. Have fun with some of those concepts, and we'll introduce some more later on.